The fear that makes him act strange around you, he hopes you never notice. Carl Jung. Have you ever noticed how he acts differently when he's around you? That man who seems confident with everyone suddenly tenses up, looks away, or makes unfunny jokes. Maybe he will be too quiet or talk too much. You feel that something is wrong, but you can't understand what. Carl Jung discovered something disturbing about male behavior. There is a fear so deep, so primal, that men would do anything to hide it from you. It's not fear of rejection. It is not common insecurity. It's something much more visceral. This fear lives in the shadows of the male psyche and controls every strange movement, every uncomfortable silence, every disproportionate reaction it has in your presence. He desperately hopes you never find out. Because if you find out, the house of cards he built around him instantly collapses. His strange behavior is not random. It is a psychological defense against this hidden terror. And today, you'll finally understand what's really going on. 1. The terror of being seen as it really is. There is an abyss between the image he projects and who he really is inside. This abyss is where the deepest terror of the male psyche lives. When you look at him with genuine interest, something inside him panics, not because you are threatening, but because your gaze has the power to pierce the defenses he has built his entire life. The male mind learns from an early age to create acceptable versions of itself, versions that impress, that conquer, that demonstrate value. But these versions are fragile constructions. Underneath them is a man with childish fears, deep insecurities, and a fragility that he has been taught to hide at all costs. When he realizes that you may be starting to see beyond the facade, his nervous system sets off alarms. This terror is not rational. It's visceral and automatic. It comes from old layers of consciousness where vulnerability was synonymous with social death. In the presence of a woman who really matters, he feels like he's being X-rayed. Every flaw, every weakness, every part of him that doesn't fit the image of strength he should project is exposed under his gaze. And this is unbearable. The strange behavior starts here. He can get defensive for no apparent reason. You can change the subject when the conversation gets too deep, can make jokes to divert attention from any moment of real intimacy. These are all desperate attempts to keep you at a safe distance, where you see only what it allows you to see. But there is something even more disturbing about this fear. The more he likes you, the more you matter to him, the greater the terror. Because now it's not just about being discovered, it's about losing yourself the moment the discovery happens. In his mind, if you meet the real man behind the image, you'll inevitably be disappointed and walk away. Then he locks himself even tighter inside the mask, creating exactly the distance he fears will happen. You'll tease you too. When he freezes in his presence, have you ever noticed those moments when it just crashes? The conversation was flowing and suddenly he is speechless. Or you ask him a simple question and it takes forever to answer. This freezing is not common shyness. It's a psychological survival response that happens when his nervous system detects emotional danger. The male brain processes emotional threats in the same way it processes physical threats. When you represent something meaningful to him, your presence activates the same defense mechanisms that would be activated in the face of a predator. The difference is that the danger here is not physical, it is emotional. It's the danger of opening up, of being vulnerable, of handing over power over your own well-being to someone else. During these freezing moments, a war takes place within him. Part of him wants to get closer, wants to connect, wants to say what he really feels. But another part is shouting alarms, reminding him of all the times vulnerability has resulted in pain, reminding him that men who expose themselves too much lose respect, reminding him that showing weakness is an invitation to be abandoned. The awkward silence that forms in these moments is not empty. It's full of unspoken words, pent-up feelings, and a paralyzing terror of making the wrong move. He knows you're waiting for an answer. He knows the silence is getting weird, but he can't get the words out. It's as if his throat closes, as if his brain shuts down the ability to articulate anything that seems real or honest. After these episodes, he usually reacts in two ways, or try to compensate by talking too much about superficial things, filling the space with noise to cover up the previous silence. Or they walk away completely, making excuses to end the interaction before another uncomfortable moment happens. Both reactions come from the same place: the absolute terror that you will realize how unregulated it is in your presence. If you want to understand why this hidden fear makes him act strange around you and how this fear reveals the shadow he desperately hopes you never notice, the Jung method is fixed in the first comment. 3. The mask he wears to protect himself. Every man develops a psychological mask, not by conscious choice, but by the need for emotional survival. This mask is the version of him that has been approved by the world, the version that works, that earns respect, that doesn't scare people. When he acts strangely around you, what you're witnessing is the mask cracking under pressure. The construction of this mask begins in childhood. Boys quickly learn which emotions are acceptable and which should be hidden. Anger can be shown, but sadness cannot. Confidence can be displayed, but fear can never. Ambition is celebrated, but the need for affection is weakness. Year after year, layer after layer, the mask is built up to become so much a part of him that he forgets where the mask ends and where the real man begins. In his presence, something dangerous happens. You awaken in him feelings that the mask was not designed to handle. Genuine desire for connection, desire to be seen and accepted as you really are, need to let your guard down and simply exist without performance. These feelings are kryptonite to the mask. They threaten to dissolve it, and when that happens, panic sets in. The strange behavior you notice is his efforts to keep the mask in place. He may act cooler than he actually feels. He can feign indifference when he is deeply affected. It can create unnecessary conflicts to keep you at a distance where the mask still works. Each strange action is an attempt to protect the structure that he believes is essential to his social survival. But there is a profound tragedy in all this. The mask he wears to protect himself is exactly what prevents the real connection he secretly desires. He wants to be loved, but he only allows you to love the mask. He wants to be understood, but only shows the edited version of himself. And the more he realizes that you might be interested in the real man behind the mask, the more desperately he clings to her protection, creating exactly the kind of distance he fears will happen. 4. Because he sabotages important moments. Have you ever planned something special and it just destroyed the moment? Or were they having a deep conversation and he made a stupid joke that killed the atmosphere? This sabotage is not accidental. It is an automatic psychological defense against the emotional intensity that important moments bring. The male psyche has extreme difficulty with positive emotional intensity. It may seem contradictory, but moments of true intimacy and connection are terrifying because they require him to completely let down his defenses. When everything is going well, when you are genuinely connected, when he senses that something real is happening, his nervous system goes on high alert. Because now you have something precious to lose. Sabotage happens in different ways. He may start an argument out of nowhere about something irrelevant. You can mention an ex-girlfriend at the worst possible time. It can simply disappear emotionally, staying on the cell phone, or changing energy completely. What all of these tactics have in common is that they create instant distance at a time when proximity was becoming dangerously real. Underneath this sabotage, there is an unconscious calculation. If he destroys the moment, he maintains control. If you let the moment happen naturally, you surrender control to something bigger than it, to the connection between you, to feelings that it doesn't know how to manage. And losing control over your own emotions is one of the most primitive fears that exist in male psychology. There is also a hidden test going on. Part of him wants to know if you're going to stay, even after he screws up, if you will persist, even when he shows himself at his worst. It's a tortured way of seeking security. If you stay even when he sabotages, maybe you will be, when you find out who he really is. But this test is cruel to both of them, because it destroys the very thing he's trying to build. 5. The fear that makes him pull away when you get closer. The more you show genuine interest, the more he backs off. The more you open up, the more it closes. This paradoxical pattern confuses many women, but it makes perfect sense when you understand the terror that drives these men. Closeness means vulnerability, and vulnerability means the possibility of emotional destruction. In his mind, every step you take toward him is a step toward the inevitable moment when you're going to let him down or he's going to let you down. It's not that he doesn't want closeness. Proximity means emotional investment, and emotional investment means risk of devastating loss. So he makes the unconscious calculation: better to keep his distance now than to suffer abandonment later. This distancing has a tortured but internal logic. If he never gets fully approached, he will never have to experience what happens when someone important leaves. If you keep yourself at a safe distance, you can pretend to have control over the situation. You can pretend that if you leave, it won't hurt so much because he never let you in completely. It is an illusory protection, but for him it seems to be the only way to survive emotionally. His fear isn't about you specifically, it's about what you stand for. You represent the possibility of real happiness, of true connection, of finding someone who truly sees and accepts you. And these possibilities are terrifying because they mean he has something precious to lose. The greater the possibility of happiness, the greater the fear of losing that happiness. Underneath the estrangement, there is a brutal internal war. The part of him that wants love is fighting the part that wants security. And usually, safety wins, because the human mind is programmed to avoid pain before seeking pleasure. So he chooses family solitude over risky connection. It chooses control over intimacy. And when you notice him walking away just when things were getting good, it's because the fear of losing you has become greater than the desire to have her. 6. Signs that reveal this hidden fear. His body tells the truth that his mouth hides. Even when he's trying to appear confident and collected, his nervous system leaks information about the inner terror he's feeling. Learning to read these signs is like gaining access to a secret book about what's really going on inside it. Watch the eyes first. Men with this fear have extreme difficulty maintaining prolonged eye contact, not because they are shy, but because the eyes create intimacy, and intimacy activates fear. He may look at you intensely for a second and then quickly dodge, as if he has seen something dangerous. Or you can look at points around your face, but never directly into your eyes. This visual dance is an attempt to connect without actually connecting. His body language oscillates between two extremes, or he becomes overly stiff with tense muscles and defensive posture, as if preparing for an attack, or he gets too restless, fiddling with objects, arranging clothes, changing positions constantly. Both extremes reveal the same internal discomfort. Their body doesn't know whether to fight, flee, or freeze in the face of the emotional threat you pose. Pay attention to how he answers personal questions. Short, superficial answers are not a sign of lack of interest. They are a sign of fear of exposure. When you ask him a question that would require him to reveal something true about himself, notice how he deflects, jokes, or answers the question that wasn't asked. This verbal dance is him buying time, keeping you interested without really opening up. The timing of his messages reveals a lot. If it takes hours to answer simple messages, but you know you have your cell phone in your hand, it's not a game, it's fear. Every message you send represents an invitation to connect, and each time he responds, he's taking a step into dangerous emotional territory. The delay is him psychologically preparing for the next level of intimacy that each exchange represents. 7. What happens when he loses control? There is a critical point where his defense system simply collapses. When the fear gets too great or the inner pressure becomes unbearable, you'll see a completely different man emerge. This moment of loss of control is when the truth finally comes out, but usually in destructive ways. The first form of this breakdown is the emotional outburst. After weeks or months of keeping everything locked down, he has a freak out about something completely disproportionate. It's not about the dirty plate or the unanswered message. It's about all the accumulated terror he's been holding. It's about the fear of losing you, the fear of not being enough, the fear of being discovered. But since he doesn't have the emotional vocabulary to express it, he comes out as anger about trivial things. The second way is total and sudden withdrawal. One day he is present, the next he disappeared emotionally. Not because he stopped caring, but because he cared too much and doesn't know how to deal with the intensity of it. This distancing is a last-ditch attempt to regain control over emotions that have become too big to manage. In his mind, if he creates physical and emotional space, he will be able to process what he is feeling, but usually it only creates more damage. The third form is chaotic confession. After so long holding it all in, it finally collapses and dumps it all at once. But it comes out in a confused, disorderly, sometimes even aggressive way. He may confess deep feelings while simultaneously pushing you away. He can say he loves you while listing all the reasons why you can't be together. The contradiction doesn't make sense logically, but it does make sense emotionally. He's desperate both to connect and to protect himself. When he loses control, his first reaction afterwards is deep shame. Men are taught that losing emotional control is male failure. So after those moments of collapse, he usually disappears or acts as if nothing happened. It may even blame you for making him lose control, because taking responsibility for his own vulnerability is too terrifying. What he's really saying is, you have so much power over me that I can lose control of my own psyche. 8. How to recognize if this fear is real or manipulative. Not all strange behavior comes from genuine fear. Some men have learned to use the language of emotional trauma and vulnerability as a tool for manipulation. Knowing how to differentiate between real fear and calculated performance is crucial for your own emotional protection. Genuine fear is consistent but clumsy. A man truly terrified of intimacy will show the same patterns over and over again, but in ways that are clearly not calculated. He will sabotage moments without realizing it. It will walk away, even when it is obviously against its own interests. His behavior hurts him as much as it hurts you, and you can see the internal conflict happening in real time. Manipulation is strategic and calculated. A manipulator uses the same behaviors, but with perfect timing, to get what he wants. It freezes just when you're asking for commitment. It loses control just when you're about to finish. Their vulnerability appears and disappears depending on what they need from you at the moment. And crucially, he never suffers the real consequences of his own behavior because he always manages to bring you back. Notice the pattern over time. Real fear improves with security and patience. If you offer consistent safe space and his behavior gradually softens, the fear was genuine. If you provide security, but the behavior only intensifies or becomes more erratic, you are probably being manipulated. Men with real fear desperately want to overcome fear. Manipulators want to keep you in the loop. Pay attention to how he talks about past patterns. A man who is aware of his own fear will recognize that this is his problem, that he is working on it, and that it is not his responsibility to fix it. A manipulator will use the past to justify abusive behavior in the present. It will make you feel like you need to prove that you are different from others. It will put the responsibility of managing his fear completely on you. The final test is simple, but brutal. Is he doing anything concrete to change? Therapy, reading, honest conversations about standards, real effort to act differently. Genuine fear comes with genuine desire to grow. Manipulation comes with eternal excuses and empty promises of change that never materialize. If you're being locked in a cycle where it always has a reason why it can't change yet, you're not dealing with fear. It's dealing with control.